Hey, everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today looking at staying strong and independent as we get older.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. We're going to be looking at, like our 80s and 90s.
Wow, okay.
We found this really interesting article called, it's actually in Korean, so I'm going to butcher this, but 노년을 경쟁, 활력 유지 및 독립성 확보.
Okay.
Which basically translates to like health in old age, maintaining vitality and independence.
Wow.
And yeah, we're just going to kind of go through some of the key points and discuss it.
Sounds good.
One of the things that I thought was so interesting is that, we always hear about those like inspirational stories about seniors doing incredible things, right?
Yeah.
But what if you could be one of those stories?
Oh, yeah.
What if you could be out there still gardening at 97?
That's the dream, right?
Totally the dream.
Well, it's definitely possible. In fact, this article highlights a woman named Sylvia, who's 97 years old, and she's still going strong thanks to her commitment to, get this, intensive strength training twice a week.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Twice a week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I need to hear more about Sylvia.
Yeah, she's amazing.
But first, let's kind of zoom out and get the bigger picture. The article mentioned that there's this pretty significant demographic shift happening globally.
Right, yeah. By 2050, the number of people aged 80 and over is projected to triple.
Wow.
So people are living longer, which is great news, but it also means that we need to kind of rethink how we approach aging. We want to make sure that those extra years are filled with vitality and independence.
Yeah, because let's be honest, nobody wants to spend their golden years struggling to do everyday things.
Exactly. The ability to bathe and dress yourself, to walk, to, even garden.
Right.
Those are crucial for your quality of life. It's your independence, It's a sense of control over your own life.
Yeah, for sure. So where does exercise fit into all of this?
Well, exercise is key. The article talks about these 4 pillars of independent living, which are basically like the physical attributes we need to maintain as we age if we want to stay independent.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are those?
So the first one is cardiorespiratory fitness.
Okay.
And that's essentially like how well your heart and lungs deliver oxygen to your body during physical activity. Basically your stamina.
Okay, stamina, got it. What's next?
The next one is muscle strength and power.
Okay.
And that's your ability to lift objects, move quickly, climb stairs, carry groceries, or just get up from a chair.
Right.
Super important.
Yeah, totally. Those are important for daily life for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
The third one is flexibility. So, maintaining that range of motion so you can do those everyday movements.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the last one?
The fourth pillar is dynamic balance.
Okay.
Your ability to stay stable while you're moving, which is super important for preventing falls, especially as we get older.
Right, yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've got stamina, strength, flexibility, and balance. Those all sound super crucial, but I feel like there's a but coming.
You're right.
I knew it.
There is a but. All 4 of those pillars naturally decline with age. It's a natural process, but it can be frustrating. You start to notice maybe your cardiovascular fitness drops, you lose a little bit of muscle mass, your balance isn't as good as it used to be.
Right, so it's like our bodies are working against us.
Well, not exactly working against us, they're just changing. But there's good news.
Okay.
Research suggests that exercise can really help to slow down or even reverse those age-related declines.
Okay, that is good news.
Yeah.
But what kind of exercise are we talking about?
Right.
Is it enough to just lace up your sneakers and go for a walk every day?
Well, walking is great. It's definitely better than being sedentary.
For sure.
But the article emphasizes that walking alone might not be enough.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to building the muscle strength that you need for a lot of everyday activities.
So we need more than just walking. What else should we be doing?
Well, here's where things get really interesting. The article highlights a study of 100 frail nursing home residents. Their average age was 87.
Wow.
And they participated in a resistance training program.
Wait, 87-year-olds doing resistance training? Okay, I'm already hooked. What happened?
The results were remarkable. These individuals, many of whom relied on walkers or wheelchairs, saw really significant improvements in their strength and mobility. And some of them were even able to ditch their walkers altogether.
Wow, that's incredible. So even at that age, strength training can make a real difference.
Absolutely. This study really highlights the power of strength training even at an advanced age.
And that brings us back to Sylvia, our 97-year-old weightlifter.
Right.
She's a real-life testament to the fact that it's never too late to start exercising and experience those benefits.
Exactly. And the article emphasizes that she credits her ability to live independently to her training. And get this, she's still gaining muscle mass.
That's amazing. I have so many questions about Sylvia's routine.
Yeah.
But before we get into specifics, I think it's important for us to understand what actually happens to our bodies as we age and why strength training is so crucial.
Absolutely. There's a lot happening beneath the surface that we need to understand. For example, did you know that as we age, we naturally lose muscle mass? It's a process called sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Sarcopenia is basically age-related muscle loss. It's a natural part of aging.
Okay.
But it can have a really big impact on your strength, your balance, and your overall functional ability.
So is that why strength training is so important?
Mm-hmm.
Because it helps to counteract this muscle loss.
Exactly. Strength training helps us to build and maintain that muscle mass.
Okay.
Which is essential for maintaining your independence and preventing falls.
Okay, so strength training is crucial.
Yeah.
But what about those other pillars? Where do things like cardio and balance and flexibility fit into the picture?
They're all important pieces of the puzzle. Think of it this way. Strength training is like building a strong foundation, and then those other activities like walking or yoga or Tai Chi, they kind of build upon that foundation.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So we need like a holistic approach to exercise as we age.
Exactly. It's about incorporating a variety of activities that target different aspects of fitness.
This is all so fascinating.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, is there an ideal age to start thinking about all of this? Do we need to wait until we're in our 80s to start worrying about strength training and sarcopenia?
That's a great question. And the research actually suggests that middle age is a crucial time to start getting serious about exercise.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, it's during middle age that we start to see those age-related changes in our arteries. They start to stiffen, which can increase your risk of hypertension and stroke later on.
Oh, wow.
But regular exercise, especially aerobic exercise, can help to prevent or even reverse that stiffening.
So it's like we're setting the stage for a healthier future by exercising in middle age.
Exactly. It's like investing in your future health.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It makes me think about what small changes we can make today to set ourselves up for a more active and independent life down the road. But before we dive into that, let's hear more about Sylvia's incredible strength training journey.
Okay, yeah, let's get back to Sylvia.
I'm dying to know, like, what she does and how she got started.
Yeah, for sure. What stands out to you from what we've learned so far?
Honestly, it's the fact that it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
Sylvia's like proof of that.
She is.
It's so inspiring. And honestly, the idea that 87-year-olds are out there lifting weights and ditching their walkers, it's mind-blowing. It makes me feel like there's hope for all of us.
I agree. It's truly remarkable what the human body is capable of, even in later life. It really is inspiring. And speaking of inspiration, you mentioned wanting to hear more about Sylvia's routine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she actually works with a trainer twice a week.
Wow. A trainer at 97?
Yeah.
That's dedication. What kind of exercises does she do?
So she focuses primarily on strength training, using machines at a local gym. Things like leg presses, chest presses, and rows.
Okay.
All modified to suit her needs and abilities, of course.
So it's not like she's powerlifting or anything.
No.
It's more about like controlled movements and building strength gradually.
Exactly. It's about working those muscles in a safe and effective way.
I'm curious, what kind of impact has this had on her life? Like beyond, ditching the walker.
Right.
Has she noticed any other changes?
Absolutely. Yeah, she's mentioned that she has more energy, her balance has improved, and she just feels more confident in her ability to move around. She's even back to gardening.
Wow.
Which is something she thought she'd never be able to do again.
That's incredible. It really shows that it's not just about like physical strength,
Right.
It's about regaining a sense of freedom and independence.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about being able to live your life on your own terms.
Okay, so Sylvia's story is amazing.
It is.
But let's get practical for a moment. If someone is listening to this and they're thinking, okay, I'm convinced I need to start strength training.
Yeah.
Where do they begin?
Right.
It can feel pretty daunting, especially if you've never lifted weights before.
I completely understand. Starting a new exercise program can definitely feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially if you're older and you haven't been active for a while. That's why it's so important to take it slow and steady.
What would you recommend as like a first step?
I always recommend starting with a visit to your doctor or a physical therapist. They can kind of assess your individual needs,
Yeah.
identify any potential risks, and help you create a safe and effective plan.
Makes sense. Safety first.
Exactly. And they can also help you set realistic goals and find ways to adapt the exercises to your abilities.
Speaking of adaptations, what are some ways that strength training can be modified for older adults?
Well, there are many ways to make strength training accessible and safe for older adults. For example, you can start with lighter weights,
Okay.
or even just your own body weight.
So things like squats and push-ups and lunges can be good starting points.
Exactly. And as you get stronger, you can gradually increase the weight or the resistance. You can also use machines at the gym, which can provide more support and stability.
What about those resistance bands I've seen people using?
Oh, yeah.
Are those a good option for older adults?
Resistance bands are fantastic.
Yeah.
They're lightweight, they're portable, and they provide a variable resistance, meaning the further you stretch them, the harder they get.
Okay, so there are lots of options.
Yeah.
That's good to know. But I still think some people might be hesitant to start strength training, especially if they've heard those myths about, older people injuring themselves by lifting weights.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's true that there is always some risk of injury with any type of exercise.
Right.
But that risk can be minimized with proper form, guidance from a professional, and a gradual progression. And remember, we're not talking about powerlifting here. We're talking about controlled movements and gradually building strength over time.
So it's more about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And remember, the benefits of strength training far outweigh the risks,
Okay.
especially for older adults.
So let's say someone's ready to take the plunge and start incorporating strength training into their routine.
Okay.
What kind of guidelines should they follow?
Well, the American College of Sports Medicine recommends that older adults aim for 2 sessions of strength training per week.
Okay, 2 sessions a week. What about the intensity level?
They suggest aiming for a moderate intensity,
Okay.
which means you should feel your muscles working, but you should still be able to carry on a conversation.
Makes sense. And how many repetitions of each exercise should you be doing?
Aim for 8 to 12 repetitions.
Okay.
And if you can easily do more than 12, it's probably time to increase the weight or the resistance.
Okay, 8 to 12 reps. Got it.
But I have a question.
Earlier you mentioned that walking might not be enough on its own to build muscle strength.
Right.
Does that mean older adults shouldn't bother with walking at all?
No, not at all. Walking is still a fantastic activity for older adults. It's great for your cardiovascular health, maintaining a healthy weight, and improving mood.
Okay.
It just might not be sufficient for building the muscle strength that you need for certain tasks.
So it's about finding the right balance.
Exactly. Think of it as a 2-pronged approach. Strength training to build and maintain muscle, and then walking or other forms of cardio for your overall fitness and well-being.
I like that. It's like a recipe for a healthier, more vibrant life.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, sarcopenia,
Okay.
that age-related muscle loss.
Right.
Can you tell us a bit more about what causes it and
Yeah.
how we can prevent it?
I'm happy to... Sarcopenia is a complex process, but essentially it's a combination of factors, including age-related hormonal changes, decreased physical activity, and even changes in our diet.
So it's not just about getting older.
Right.
There are things we can do to mitigate it.
Absolutely. And that's where strength training comes in. It's one of the most effective ways to combat sarcopenia. By challenging your muscles, you're essentially sending a signal to your body to build and maintain that muscle mass.
So it's like we're telling our bodies, hey, we still need these muscles, don't get rid of them.
Exactly. And it's not just about building muscle either. Strength training also helps to improve bone density, which is crucial for preventing osteoporosis and fractures.
That's like a double whammy of benefits for older adults.
Precisely. And the great thing is you don't need to spend hours at the gym to reap these rewards.
Yeah.
Even short, regular strength training sessions can make a big difference.
This is all so encouraging. But I'm curious, are there any other lifestyle factors that can contribute to sarcopenia or hinder our efforts to build muscle?
That's an important question. Nutrition plays a really big role in maintaining muscle mass as we age. As we get older, our protein needs actually increase.
Why is that?
Well, protein is the building block of muscle.
Right.
And as we experience sarcopenia, we need more protein to help our bodies repair and rebuild that muscle tissue.
So we need to make sure we're getting enough protein in our diet.
Exactly. And it's not just about the quantity of protein, but also the quality. You want to focus on lean protein sources like fish, chicken beans, lentils.
Okay, so protein is key.
Yeah.
Are there any other dietary considerations?
Staying hydrated is also incredibly important, as is getting enough vitamin D.
Okay.
Vitamin D helps our bodies absorb calcium, which is crucial for bone health.
So it's a combination of exercise, nutrition, and overall healthy habits.
You got it. It's about adopting a holistic approach to aging, one that prioritizes both physical and mental well-being.
This has been so insightful.
Glad to hear it.
I'm already feeling inspired to revamp my own workout routine.
Great.
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something that really stuck with me.
Okay.
The idea that middle age is a crucial time to start laying the groundwork for a healthier future.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone in their 40s or 50s who wants to age gracefully and maintain their independence?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is to make exercise a non-negotiable part of your life.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be anything extreme. Start with activities you enjoy, whether it's walking, swimming, dancing, or even gardening. The key is consistency.
So it's about finding ways to move your body that you actually look forward to.
Exactly. And as you get into the habit of regular exercise, start incorporating some strength training into the mix.
Okay.
You can start with body weight exercises, resistance bands, or even just lifting some light weights a couple times a week.
And as you mentioned earlier, it's always a good idea to consult with a doctor or a physical therapist before starting any new exercise program.
Absolutely.
Especially if you have any underlying health conditions.
They can help you create a plan that's safe and effective for you.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
We've learned so much about the importance of exercise.
Right.
Especially strength training for maintaining independence and vitality as we age.
Right.
What are some key takeaways you'd like our listeners to remember?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
You know, hearing Sylvia's story and learning about those nursing home residents who saw such incredible improvements,
Right?
even in their late 80s and 90s, it's so inspiring.
It really is.
And it really challenges those assumptions that we often have about aging.
It does. It's easy to kind of fall into that trap of thinking that once you reach a certain age, your body is just on this decline and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
But the research shows that that's just not true.
No, it's not.
Our bodies are so amazingly adaptable.
They are.
And exercise, especially strength training, can have such a profound impact.
Right.
At any age.
At any age, it's amazing.
You know, it's funny. We often think about exercise as something we do for our physical health. But what really struck me in this deep dive is that connection between physical strength and independence.
Right.
It's not just about being able to, lift heavy objects.
Right.
It's about being able to live your life on your own terms.
Exactly. Strength training gives you the ability to do the things you love, whether it's gardening, playing with your grandkids, or just moving around your home with ease.
And that sense of freedom and independence is priceless.
Absolutely. It's about maintaining your autonomy and your quality of life.
So for our listeners who are feeling inspired to make a change, what's like one small step they can take today to start incorporating more movement and strength training into their lives?
I'd say start by identifying one activity that you enjoy.
Okay.
That gets you moving. It could be walking, dancing, swimming, anything that gets your heart rate up.
Right. And
make a commitment to do that activity for at least 30 minutes, 3 times a week.
Okay, so find something you enjoy and make it a regular part of your routine. What about strength training?
Okay.
Where's a good place to start?
If you're new to strength training, I recommend starting with some simple body weight exercises.
Okay.
Like squats, push-ups against wall chair stands. You can find demonstrations of these exercises online.
Okay.
Or consult with a trainer to make sure you're using proper form.
Right.
And aim for 2 sets of 10 repetitions of each exercise twice a week.
Okay, that sounds manageable.
Yeah.
And as you get stronger, you can gradually increase the number of repetitions or sets.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to challenge yourself. As you progress, you can start incorporating weights resistance bands or even join a gym.
And remember, it's always a good idea to consult with your doctor or a physical therapist.
Absolutely.
Before starting any new exercise program.
For sure.
This has been such a fascinating and empowering deep dive.
It has.
I feel like we've uncovered like a secret weapon for aging gracefully and maintaining our independence.
I agree. Exercise, and particularly strength training, is truly a fountain of youth.
It's like we have the power to write our own aging stories.
Exactly. And the best part is it's never too late to start writing that story.
So for our listeners, I encourage you to take what you've learned today.
Yeah.
And start applying it to your own lives. Make those small changes. Find joy in movement.
Yeah.
And watch as you reap the rewards of a healthier, more vibrant future.
And remember, aging is a privilege.
Yeah.
Embrace it. Challenge yourself and keep moving.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.